Good afternoon, I am Richard. I was the driver for the NWR number 11, or Oliver as we all know him. I am not going to tell this story happily, but I need to rewrite it before my inevitable demise. October 31st, 1969. Everything started on Halloween 1969. I was preparing Oliver to head down to Tidmouth Bay to watch the fireworks like every Halloween. Oliver and Toad demanded that we get going or we would certainly get stuck behind the main line engines. A few minutes later, we were on our way. Along the way, we met up with Donald, who was strangely alone. He complained about how Douglas couldn't go, because he had brake problems. We felt sorry for him and hoped that he could be fixed in time for the fireworks. All three of us continued down the line and finally arrived at Tidmouth Bay. The fireworks were amazing like every year, but it was getting very cold and I wish I had brought my jacket. We had to keep Oliver's fire lit the whole time. As we were leaving, the station master at Tidmouth stopped us and we volunteered to take a goods train, which was needed at Croven's Gate. I really wish we hadn't. We headed towards Kildane. It started getting unreasonably cold as we passed through Edwards Station. You could visually see the water on the track freezing as we passed over Gordon's Hill. This was not natural, especially for this time of year. It went from normal temperature to below freezing in seconds. Even with Oliver and Toad working together, getting down the hill was very difficult thanks to the ice-covered rails. Henry, with Edward banking, were failing miserably to get up the hill as we passed. Then it started to snow, and soon after, hail. It was absolutely horrifying as Oliver's water gauge froze. As we tried to stop, the train switched on to what we assumed to be the Peel-Godred line. We screeched to a halt to plan what we were going to do. We couldn't drop Oliver's fire, or we would freeze to death, but leaving it burning was dangerous as we didn't know the water level. Oliver and Toad were adamant that we continue up the line, at least to a station. The hail soon got larger, and Oliver began to scream in pain. He eventually shut up as his mouth was frozen shut. The hail was denting and banging Oliver's roof and tanks. Then a faint whistle was heard as Arthur raced up to us and dragged us up the line, not saying a thing. He shunted our train out of the way and then picked up Toad. Arthur then yelled, something that I couldn't decipher. All we heard was crushing ice and Arthur's demanding shouting. All I wanted to do was ask Arthur or his crew what they were doing, but at least we weren't stuck anymore. Just then, a red light came into view. Of course, the smelter's yard. It's insanely hot there, I thought. By now it was night. Getting into the yard was so nice, especially feeling any temperature in the positives. We parked in the smelting shed, and Arthur turned around and rolled back over to us. Then we listened to a live Sodor news broadcast on the yard office television. The broadcast was odd, as it seemed to be filmed from inside James's cab, and we could see his firemen shoveling coal in the background. They were, of course, talking about the awful weather. Then we heard a bang and confused swearing as the train the reporter was in shook violently and the film cut. I think it's safe to assume the news crew and James are probably dead.